All right, welcome back to ElitePremierVirtuals.com, Part 2, FMC training, basic training that is. And we are in the PMDG 737-800. All right, and we're going to get into the FMC here. But before we go into that, again, we want to get you into the air as quickly as possible with some very basic training, not to get too technical on you. So that you can start enjoying your PMDG 737-800 product. Okay, so first thing you need to do is hit Shift 3, and that'll bring up your FMC. This is what your FMC looks like. Okay, on the top part of the FMC, you have the screen. And you have some action buttons on the left and some action buttons on the right of the screen. Okay, these action buttons will correspond with the information that you see on the screen. You have a number pad, and you also have a alphabetic pad on the right here, followed by some function keys in these areas here, and your execute button. Okay, so whenever you program something that needs to be executed, this light right here above the execute button will light up, and that means you'll need to go ahead and press execute if you want to activate whatever it is that you just programmed. Alright, okay, now we're sitting here on the ground in Miami, and we're going to be taking a flight to Tampa today. Okay, and that is based off of part 1 tutorial where we went over SIDS and stars for a route going from Miami to Tampa. That's based on the Winco 2 departure and the Deke 4 arrival, where we had a jetway 43 in the middle of that. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load some fuel. So I click on FS Actions, and I want to click on fuel. Now down here in this blank area under the word return here, here's what we call a scratch pad. Okay, if you click on it, you'll see that the scratch pad activates. Okay, now keep in mind, I want to tell you this first. If you leave your scratch pad open or activated, I should say, and you close your FMC, you're not going to be able to do anything because the scratch pad is still activated, and you've gotten rid of the scratch pad. So very important. Okay, there's another way to deactivate the scratch pad even if you don't see it, is to hit the tab key. So I'm going to hit the tab key, and the scratch pad is going to deactivate. Okay, I can activate it temporarily by holding down the tab key. So pressing and holding the tab key will activate your scratch pad. But once you let go of the tab key, then it goes away. Okay, so if you want it to be on and stay on, just click in the blank area right here. Okay, now scratch pad is how you're going to enter information that you'll need to put elsewhere on this screen. Okay, so for example, if I need to put in the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, I put 1, 2, 3, 4 in the scratch pad, and then I will place that number somewhere in one of these action keys on the left or on the right. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to load 11,000 pounds of fuel. Okay, so I'm just going to type in 11,000 on the bottom here and click this top left action key where it says total pounds of fuel. Okay, and you notice that the fuel goes in there. Now this fuel is going to count down because my engines are on. Again, this is just to keep you with the basics so that we can concentrate on the FMC. You can start this plane up cold and dark, but that will be for another tutorial. All right. So these numbers are going to count down because our engines are on and we are burning fuel. All right. So let's get right to getting the information that you need in your FMC. Alright, so I'm going to deactivate the scratch pad for now, and I'm going to hit return and then menu. Alright, that takes me back to the main screen of the FMC, and I'm going to click FMC here. Okay, and next what you want to do is click on a route. Okay, and in route you're going to enter your origin airport and your destination airport. So I'm going to activate the scratch pad and type in KMIA for Miami, that's where we are, and KTPA, Tampa, that's where we're going. Okay, now I'm just going to deactivate the scratch pad so I can take a quick look at the winds here. Alright, the winds are, let's see, basically calm. Okay, so we can choose whatever runway we want to. Let's take a look at what runway we are close to. Let's cycle through here. Okay. So it looks like we are close to runway 26 right. That will be this runway right here. And here we are. Okay. Let's get back into the cockpit, and I'm going to hit Shift 3 to get the FMC back up. Alright, so I've typed in the origin and I've typed in the destination. From here, if you know what runway that you're taking off from, you can type it in and place it right here where it says runway. Okay, so since we know we're going to take off from 26 right, I'm just going to type in 26R and place it here at runway. Okay. Next, we're going to click on the departure arrival button, which is located right here. Okay, we are departing Miami and we're arriving Tampa. Okay, so I'm going to click on the departure button that corresponds with Miami, which is this top one here. So I click that, and I'm going to look for my departure SID. Okay, see it says SIDs right here. So these are a list of available SIDs. So I don't see my SID, so I need to next page. If you notice, you have 3 pages here. So we're on page 1 of 3. So I'm going to next page until I see wing code 2. Alright, there it is. So I'm going to click on the action button that corresponds with wing code 2 to select it. Okay, now we've already got our runway selected, but if we did not have our runway selected, we could select it here as well. So I'm going to next page just to confirm that we do have runway 26 right selected, and we do. Alright, now there's several different ways you can go from this point, but I'm going to show you just a quick and easiest way so that you can understand what's going on. I'm going to click back on departure arrival. Now that I've chosen my departure SID and the runway, I'm going to click back on departure arrival and look at my arrival for Tampa. So I'll click on the button that corresponds with the arrival for Tampa. Alright, and I'm going to look for my star. Alright, so see, we're going to land north, so I'm going to choose DEEC 401. Okay, this 01 represents the runway, and since we're landing north and not south, which would be 19, we're going to choose DEEC 401B. And the runway we're going to land on is 01 left, so we'll do the ILS 01 left. Okay, you do have other available choices, but we'll do this ILS 01 left, and we'll also choose the label transition. If you remember from our flight plan, we're going to transition through label. Okay, so now that we've got that selected, I'm going to click on my legs page, which is this button here to the left of departure arrivals. And I'm going to examine my route. I'm going to pull up the MFD so that you can see what's going on here. Okay, with the MFD, you want to be able to control it by zooming in and out and making the right selection. Let's see. Alright, so I tried to zoom in and I could not because my scratch pad was activated. So again, deactivate your scratch pad if you want to use your keyboard to do any other functions other than what you're trying to enter into the FMC. Alright, so I'm going to zoom in on this area right here. Alright, you have two knobs here that will control what's going on your MFD. Okay, to the left here, you see I have the approach, the VOR, the map, and plan. If you put your mouse over this knob, if you click left, it'll turn the knob to the left. If you click right, it'll turn the knob to the right. And that's how most of these knobs and buttons work in this PMDG 737-800. Alright, so what I want to do is to have it on plan, and the button to the right here is going to be your zoom. Okay, right now we're at see 20% zoom. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see, get a bigger picture of what's going on. And if you remember in our SID, if we departed to the west, okay, we would have to make a right to Ahofo, and if you see it right here on the MFD, alright, that looks similar to the SID that we took a look at in the first tutorial. Alright, so let's look at the FMC. So we have Ahofo, Borley, Megan, then Winco. Okay, now I'm going to the next page because we have 4 pages of streets and turns and intersections that we need to navigate to. So next page, I have a then box. Okay, that typically shows up after your transition out of the area. So Winco is our transition out, and LaBelle is our transition in, and the FMC allows you to put whatever other waypoints that you're going to need to hit between your transition out and your transition in. Okay, so that's why there's this then box that shows empty boxes. Now there isn't any other waypoints that we need to enter into legs, so we're going to close this gap. But before I do that, look at the MFD, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so you can see that the MFD does correspond with what's going on here in your FMC. So if you notice, our previous page, back to Winco, and here's Winco right here. Now when I next page to see LaBelle, if you notice, there's a route discontinuity here, and there it is. There is a discontinuity between Winco and LaBelle. So I'm going to close that gap by clicking on LaBelle. Hang on, let me just take this out of the scratch pad. Okay, so I'm going to click on LaBelle, and LaBelle is going to go down into the scratch pad, and then I'm going to replace this empty area with LaBelle. So I'll place LaBelle right here with the top left action button. So if you notice, now it's closed the gap on the MFD. Okay. Alright, next we want to continue to examine the route, but I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit here, and if you notice down here in the bottom right, you have a step button, or where you can step through the entire route. So I'm going to continue from, let's see, let's go back to this previous page, alright, to the beginning of the route, and I'll zoom in just a little bit more so you can see what's going on. Alright, so if you click step, this will allow you to step through the whole route. Okay, we just stepped to Ohofo, so it's centered on Ohofo. Then if I step again, it'll go to Borley, Megan, Winco, LaBelle, Rogan, Deke, Jetstream. Okay, and now if you notice this line, this blue perforated line goes off to the left, but our airport is over here. So we need to get our FMC to track all the way to Lagoo. So we want to go from Jetstream to Lagoo, then to Selman, and then into the airport. Now, if you notice, there's the word vector here after Jetstream. If you recall on the map or on the arrival that we looked at in the first tutorial, it told you to expect vectors at some point, right? So that's why this is here. The FMC recognizes that. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to eliminate that and get the FMC to fly us from Jetstream directly to Lagoo. So we're going to look for Lagoo, which is on the next page. So I'm going to next page down, and I'm going to click on Lagoo, and I'm going to previous page and bring Lagoo up to where it says vector. So I'm going to replace vector with Lagoo. Click that action button, and now we can step through and make sure I'm stepping through the Deke, Jetstream, and look at that, it goes straight to Lagoo. Alright, so that's what we want. Alright, and then straight into the runway. So we've examined our route. Let's go ahead and step through back to the beginning. I'm going to keep clicking step until we get back to the beginning. Alright, so let's go again. Step, Ohofo, Borley, Megan, Winco, LaBelle. All I'm doing is just keep pressing the action button that corresponds with step, and it'll keep going through Deke, Jetstream, Lagoo, Selman, and right into runway 01 left. Okay. All right. Let's deactivate the scratch pad. Okay. Now we're going to leave this here, and we're going to pick up on part 3. Okay, so again, stay tuned for part 3 of Elite Premier's virtual basic training for the FMC in the 737-800.